Trump administration is now looking to control how national museums and national parks portray American history. The president signed an executive order last night titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. It mentions by name the Smithsonian Institution, as Vice President J.D. Vance automatically serves on the Smithsonian Institution's Board of Regents, and this new executive order tasks him with overseeing efforts to remove what it calls improper ideology. It says Vance and the director of the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, will, quote, prohibit expenditure on exhibits or programs that degrade shared American values, divide Americans based on race, or promote programs or ideologies inconsistent with federal law and policy. Now, the Smithsonian Institution, it's made up of 21 museums. 11 of them are on the National Mall in Washington. And the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which only opened up in 2016, is one of the top 5 most popular of the museums. It's no surprise the president's executive order specifically takes issue with that museum, writing, quote, the National Museum of African American History and Culture has proclaimed that hard work, individualism, and the nuclear family are aspects of white culture. It turns out what the president is referring to was not an exhibit at the museum. Someone wrote it on the museum's website in a section called Talking About Race back in 2020. When it got posted and noticed, it offended people and it was removed 5 years ago. If you've ever been to this museum, it is powerful and moving. And at times, it is disturbing as well. It's upsetting and it's unsettling, but so is our history, our shared history. Acknowledging that, exploring it, bringing some light to the harshest parts of our history, that isn't degrading American values or dividing Americans based on race. It doesn't make us weaker. It's what actually gives this country its strength. Weak countries rewrite their histories, erase their brutal past, and they repeat that brutality. The museum says their mission is to capture and share the unvarnished truth of African American history and culture. I looked at their website today. There's an exhibit right now called Reckoning, Protest, Defiance, Resilience. It's described as looking, quote, at the ways in which visual art has long provided its own protest, commentary, escape, and perspective for African Americans. It mentions the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, will that suddenly be banned? There's a permanent exhibit called Making a Way Out of No Way. That's about how generations of black people, those brought here in chains in the holds of slave ships, and their descendants were told for generations that there was no way they could have rights, no way they could own land or vote or be equal, but told no way they made a way. Will that history now be banned? Is acknowledging injustice and celebrating resilience in the face of oppression, is that divisive? Is that where we are now as a nation? There's another permanent exhibit called Sports, Leveling the Playing Field. You can see Jim Brown's Cleveland Browns jersey. You can see Muhammad Ali's terry cloth robe. Now, most people alive today remember Muhammad Ali as a beloved figure, a hero, but he was hated by many in white America for a very long time. He was divisive, refusing to be drafted because of his religious beliefs and his opposition to the war in Vietnam. He was convicted by a court of draft evasion, stripped of his heavyweight title, not allowed to box in his prime. It took him years, but the Supreme Court finally overturned his conviction, and he could box again. Told no way, he made a way. And is he now once again to be labeled divisive by this administration? As I mentioned, they're targeting national parks as well. In the executive order, it says, quote, as appropriate and consistent with applicable law to ensure that all public monuments, memorials, statues, markers, or similar properties within the Department of the Interior's jurisdiction do not contain descriptions, depictions, or other content that inappropriately disparage Americans, past or living, including persons living in colonial times, and instead focus on the greatness of the achievements and the progress of the American people, or with respect to natural features, the beauty, abundance, and grandeur of the American landscape. So you can't disparage past Americans, even from colonial times? You just got to focus on the greatness of achievements and the progress of American people? It's hard to acknowledge our progress if you can't honestly talk about our past.